Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles. I want to welcome you guys to the conversation. And today I got a pretty dope topic for you guys, and I think you guys are going to enjoy. So the topic is, or the question is really, could Paul George possibly win Finals MVP over Kawhi Leonard? So that's what I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to go ahead and hit the like button and make sure you hit the subscribe button, guys, because we're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers as soon as possible. So please make sure you go ahead and do that. And once you do that, hit that notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content, so you're not missing out on anything and you're, commenting on videos late. Now, first of all, let me give the rundown on Paul George, because we have a lot of Clippers fans that watch these videos, and some of them may, they kind of overlook Paul George for whatever reason. But Paul George is a fantastic player. In my opinion, he's the number two-way player in the world, right behind Kawhi Leonard. He's a 6-time NBA All-Star. He's been on 5 All-NBA teams, 4 All-Defensive teams, 2 All-First Defensive NBA teams. He led the league in steals in 2019. Now, if we go a little bit deeper and we look at his stats, I mean, the dude is just sensational. This season, he's averaging 21 points a game, 5.7 rebounds, and 3.9 assists. Now, you guys may look at that and say, but what's so amazing about that? I don't see what's so fantastic about that. Well, here's the thing to bear in mind. Paul George started off this season, before he started off this season, he missed a number of games. In fact, he's only played 42 games this season because he missed training camp because he had shoulder surgery in the offseason, which caused him to miss some games in the beginning of the playoffs. So that's the first thing. The second thing, he's been nursing this hamstring pull that he had throughout the regular season, and he was in and out of the lineup. And because of that, his rhythm was off. He wasn't playing consistent minutes. And that's the reason why you see his numbers are fluctuating. You may say, but to average 21 points a game, yes, because if you come back from an injury, you're going to be on minutes restrictions. They're going to be monitoring your body. So you're not just going to be thrown out there and just start playing any amount of games. I'll give you a perfect example of this. If you guys saw the Last Dance documentary where Michael Jordan broke his leg, if you remember, MJ was put on I think it was a 7-minute restriction per half. I think he was only allowed to play 7 minutes each half because they didn't just want to throw him out there and just played regular minutes to, possibly risk an injury or re-aggravating something. It's the same thing when players come back from injuries. So usually when they come back, sometimes they're not put in the starting lineups. Initially, they may be coming off the bench. Their minutes are monitored. So if they're monitoring their minutes, they're not going to be able to get up the same amount of shots, play the same amount of minutes. So that affects their averages. But if we look at Paul George, let's look at him last season when he was healthy with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And it's fair to say, going into the playoffs last season, he was injured with that shoulder thing on his arm. So if you go and look at some images of him in the playoffs last season, you'll see he had a whole bunch of different medical, equipment, I don't know what you want to call it, apparatuses on his arm to see, so you can see that he was dealing with something. I think it was on his left shoulder or shoe and arm, I'm not sure. But last season, he played 77 games. He averaged 28 points a game. He shot 44% from the field. He shot 38.6% from the three-point line. He shot 84% from the free throw line, got you 8.2 rebounds, 4.1 assists, 2.2 steals a game. Now, Paul George last season finished in the top 3 in MVP voting, and he also finished in the top 3 with defensive player of the year voting. That is a very hard thing to do. It's one thing if you finish top 3 for defensive player of the year or you finish top 3 for MVP, but to finish top 3 in both categories in the same season is no small thing. It's like that's Michael Jordan territory, winning scoring champion and then winning defensive player of the year and winning regular season MVP and possibly winning an NBA Finals MVP in the same season. So Paul George is no slouch, and he is one of the best players on the planet Earth as we know it. So Paul George is an amazing player. But what are some of the reasons that makes me think that he could possibly, I'm not saying he will, that he could possibly win an NBA championship? One of them is he's probably hungry to prove himself. We got to think, Paul George played the majority of his career with the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference. And what happened? In the Eastern Conference, number one, when Paul George first got his shot, I think it was when Danny Granger got injured or something like that. Then he got his shot, I think, to start. And that's when he really started to play well. Then, he came sort of out of the blue. And if you guys remember series between the Indiana Pacers and the Miami Heat, when Paul George sort of had his coming out party with that dunk that he did. You guys can go back and look at that. That was sort of his coming out party. So that's when he kind of discovered himself. Then year after year, he started to see that, wait a minute, I could possibly be a good player, because he went from averaging 12 points a game, 17 points a game, 21 points a game. Then I think there was a year when he broke his leg and he came back. So Paul George, his career arc was that he had to grow into who he was. It wasn't like LeBron James that just came in and all of a sudden, boom, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 18 years old. No. But what happened, at a certain point, PG ended up being the leader of the Indiana Pacers. And I think in one series, I think it was in the first round in the Eastern Conference, he played against LeBron and he couldn't beat him. And that shouldn't be any surprise, because he's not as good as LeBron James. So no one is surprised at that. But the knock has always been that Paul George can never, can't be the number one option on a championship winning team. And that's the reason why Skip Bayless always used to make fun of him and call him George Paul, because he's not that dude. So I think Paul George is going to be really highly motivated to show a lot of people that, in fact, he is one of the best players in the world. And on any given night, he can be the best player on the court, no matter who is on the court. And if you look at the last time that the Clippers met the Lakers, I think he led all scorers with 31 points. And he had more points than Kawhi Leonard. I'm not saying he's better than Kawhi Leonard, but he has the talent to do so. The next thing is talking about his talent. This guy is 6'8", okay? Although he's a little bit slanky, he's not that heavy. He's 220. And to put that in perspective, MJ was 6'6", playing at 215. So he's a little bit slim for his size, but he's very versatile. He can do a lot of things on the court, and his game is gonna be very complementary to that of Kawhi Leonard. And you may ask why? Because Paul George is a magician, is a master at coming off of screens, coming off of picks, catching and shooting. He's a really good catch and shooter, believe it or not. If you look at him, you look at his handles, the way he can break the defense down, the way he can score in the mid-range, the way he can score with his back towards the basket. He's really good at slashing. He's very crafty at getting to the paint and drawing fouls. But he has an all-around game. He can hit the mid-range, a three-point shot. He can score coming out of the post. And he can defend multiple positions. And if we're looking at Finals MVP winning, it's not just about scoring. Conventional wisdom will tell you, yeah, but usually the person that scores the most will win. But if you look at the time when Kawhi Leonard won his first Finals MVP, it wasn't for scoring, although the final 3 games of that series, he ended up scoring 20 plus points a game for those last 3 games, but it was also his defense. So you have to look at the impact he's going to have. A great example of this is if you don't have to go too far back, just 5 years ago. And if you look at the Golden State Warriors when they played against the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think in 2015, 2016, Andre Iguodala won the MVP, the Finals MVP, because of the defense he played and all the different things he was able to do on the court once he was inserted into the starting lineup. So it's not a surefire thing to say, okay, the person that scores the most points is going to be the Finals MVP. In most cases, it happens. If you look at Kevin Durant, I think it was 2 seasons ago when he won. I mean, Kevin Durant was clearly the best player on the floor. He led the Golden State Warriors in scoring. But it was obvious because he came up in big moments. He hit those big shots in Cleveland. So it was evident to see that he was the most valuable player in the finals. And I think that Paul George has a chance to really do something special, and it's probably going to come down to matchups. It all really depends on who the Clippers are going to match up against if they were to make it to the finals. If he has a favorable matchup, right? For instance, if he plays against Milwaukee Bucks, then I think he's going to have a pretty tough time, because he's also going to be playing against Chris Middleton, who's also an all-star. So it's not like as if Paul George can take it off on defense and just focus on his scoring. But if he plays against the Milwaukee Bucks, he also has to guard Chris Middleton, because Kawhi Leonard, in most cases, is going to have his hands full with Giannis Antetokounmpo. But if he's playing against, I don't know, for example, a Philadelphia 76ers team where Ben Simmons is not a perimeter threat, then he could probably, kind of roam around on defense, which can conserve his energy to be a better scorer on offense. So it's also going to come down to matchups in the finals, and it could come down to how Kawhi Leonard plays and so many other things. So will he win Finals MVP over Kawhi Leonard? No. But can he? Absolutely, there's a possibility that he can. It's not like me saying that Ken Montrezl Harrell or Landry Shamet or Patrick Beverley win Finals MVP over Kawhi Leonard. That would be ridiculous. But in this case, Paul George is a superstar, and he has a chance to do it. I'm not saying he will, but he does have a chance. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you think that Paul George possibly has a chance to win Finals MVP over Kawhi Leonard, or do you think that I'm completely wrong and there's just no way in the hell that Paul George is going to win the Finals MVP over Kawhi Leonard if the Clippers were to make it to the NBA championship? So whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content so you're not missing nothing and commenting on videos mad late. With that being said, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Peace.